Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, 18th of February, 2013, and I'm Dr. Smith. I'm your instructor for North American Peoples and Cultures of North America, a course that I teach also here at PSU. This is an online class for Linfield, but I also teach this as a class called North American Prehistory here at Portland State. Well, this is a course on the peoples and cultures of North America and the 14,000 year, more than that now actually, with new radiocarbon dates, history of those peoples migrating into the Americas, specifically migrating into North America and then inhabiting and adapting in the most fascinating ways to a variety of regions around the North American continent. For example, we'll proceed sort of geographically, and we'll see what the earliest occupation was, the archaeology of people migrating, for example, into the high Arctic. There's a fascinating migration up there several thousand years ago. They used things like, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a caribou hide that I got in the Arctic, or an archaeological project. Caribou hide, bone, and antler for their tools to make all kinds of things like sleds and igloos and so on. And in each area then, the Northwest, the desert Southwest, the sort of Mississippian River region where there's agriculture, in each of these areas there's a specific adaptation, and there's the archaeology of that adaptation. But I don't want to give you the impression that that this is all a prehistory only. There are living native peoples, great many of them, and throughout the course you'll be reading some material from them. You'll also be seeing video clips that I'll be posting online, that explore the world of living Native American people. And there's an interesting intersection or overlap or integration today of archaeology and native peoples, whereas previously that history has been rather rocky at some times. But that relationship is improving, and you'll even, in a virtual way, meet Rudy Reimer, a buddy of mine from high school, graduate school, who is now an archaeologist, has a doctorate in archaeology in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he's a Squamish Indian. So he's an Indian, he's a Native American person, but also a professional archaeologist. So there's an overlap of that world, and that whole world of natives and archaeologists. That relationship is changing these days for the better, I'm happy to say, largely. I'll say a couple things about the syllabus and then the format of the class. Obviously, it's an online class, which gives a lot of flexibility on your end. Basically, once you've got the weekly learning module, which is just a text document that I release each week, and it describes what are the sort of essential issues that we're looking at this week, or the basic lessons I'd like you to get out of the week's material. For each week, then, you'll read a bit from the book. I'll talk about that in a moment. You'll read a bit from the book. Typically, there will also be at least one PDF file. You don't have to pay for it. It's just a file that gives you some of oftentimes it's a technical archaeological report or ethnographic report about the ethnography of these people, that gives you kind of an idea of the technical material, the inestimable, gigantic, limitless, massive volume of 150 years of archaeology and anthropology that goes behind, in all those technical documents, goes behind or ends up sort of being boiled down into a derivative work like this, a general prehistory of a region. There's just a vast amount of that material, and I don't want you to be if it's too technical and you're not understanding the excavation process or something like that, don't worry. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I just want you to see the kind of thing that is behind what we're calling facts, and see what it is that archaeologists are relying on when they claim to know something about the human past. So typically then each week there will be a reading from the book, a chapter or a part of a chapter from the textbook. The text is quite good. You can find all the information about it on the syllabus, which is posted online. The text is quite good. The pictures are actually particularly good. The edition that I'm citing for you for the text for this class, that edition is 10 years old. Don't bother to get the new one, though, because it's much more expensive, and the updates, frankly, are not worth it. and I'll be keeping you updated weekly. I'll be giving you at the end of the week an audio blog, just a 5 or sometimes 10-minute MP3 file that basically goes through and kind of gives you a recap or an update on what's going on in the topic of that week. So don't bother with a much more expensive new text. I think you'll be perfectly fine. I know you will. Be perfectly fine with this edition and the updates that I'll be giving you. Speaking of that, on a weekly basis, in addition to what I've just mentioned for you, I'll be talking to you into a voice recorder, and I just put this blog online at the end of the week, typically, kind of to wrap things up. And this is just sort of my free-floating thoughts on what we've looked at during the week. A final thing that's added every week is a lecture, and this is also an MP3 file. It's an audio. It's a full lecture. It's an hour and 5 minutes long. And it addresses the week, the material of the week. Now these are actually just audio files from my lectures when I'm teaching the class here at PSU as North American Prehistory. So keep in mind one thing. With those lecture files, they're kind of optional. If you're really into the material and you really want a lot of detail and so on, and you're washing your dishes and you just want something to listen to that has to do with the class, that's great. But I'm not yet making those mandatory because sometimes the audio quality isn't the greatest, although you can normally do just fine. But they also, North American Prehistory, the way I teach that class is a little bit different from how I teach this class. So the material isn't quite perfectly sort of correlated. So those are for your own interest. Much more important will be that audio blog at the end of the week, kind of wrapping things up, and the readings, and also the video clips. I've spent years teaching this class, selecting very carefully among the millions of crazy videos out there that are available. Sometimes there's some good material, and I have selected really good instructional sort of video material that goes deeper in and gives you sort of pictures, moving pictures, color, and so on, that kind of help you to understand the week's material. So I would say those videos are very important to watch and listen to as supplements to the text. Essentially, in terms of evaluation, I'll just mention this very briefly because I want to get this online right away. Essentially, there are writings per week, so at the end of the week you write up sort of a survey of what you did during the week. Sometimes those are in the form of a question, and I'll ask a specific thing. What do you think about such and such issue? Other times it's just going to be, please give me a summary of the week. And I can tell by your writing, I can tell whether you are engaged in the material or just giving me kind of a dry, sort of rote answer. At the end, and I think maybe at the midterm as well, but certainly at the end you will have the opportunity, or you will be doing a final paper, and this will be on any topic that you please in North American prehistory, or even among living peoples of North America, living native people. Any topic you want. You just have to verify it with me, and we will go through that. I'll email back and forth with you as you're picking a topic. I'll direct you sort of towards good research material and steer you away from poorer research material. And you'll pick a topic, and then towards the end, starting about halfway through, you'll start the research for that and produce a really good paper at the end that has allowed you to dive deeply into a topic of your choice. I'll give you examples of topics, but for example, a topic might be, bone and antler tools of the desert southwest region. Or it could be Paiute, a group in the Great Basin, a native group there. Paiute foraging strategies. How did they find food and water in that Great Basin environment, that kind of thing. So it'll be a topic. I'll guide you towards very much more specific than general topics. You'll find if the topic is too general, it's very hard to research because there's so much material, so much research material that you could read. I think that's really what I wanted to say today. I just wanted to introduce myself, give you kind of an idea of how the class material goes every week. I'd like to wrap it up this morning, though, because I want to post this online, get it started, and I'll talk to you weekly on those blogs, and then occasionally when I'm online, and you can email me, and I can talk to you online as well. All right? Welcome to the class. We have a lot of great material, 15,000 years of human prehistory, perhaps even a little bit more than that, and just archaeological material from right across the continent, from the Arctic down to Florida. Very interesting material. Alright, talk to you later. Now let's see if I can turn this off actually, or not. Still running. Still running.